go from Walker Kessler to Cardwell to Jabari Smith. I mean, the length they have. Here's my question to you guys. After watching this game, what doesn't Auburn have?
I mean, they have a lot of different ways they can beat you, from offensively to defensively. You know, I think Auburn at the end of the day, maybe shot selection or a game on the road where they don't handle it well, but they just they can stay in games. They can go on big runs. They're never out of the game. They can press. I mean, they just got so many different ways that they can change the game on you.
I think Auburn, you can make a statement that if they're not the best team in the country, they're certainly a 1 seed in this year's tournament. Right now, that's the level that they're at. There's a lot of basketball left, but based on how they've played to this point, the balanced roster, the difference maker in Jabari, and then you have Kessler, as Archie has talked a lot about, his shot blocking ability not only is a great fit for the rest of their team, but it almost makes an already really good defense great. Yeah, and I think when you look at their defensive numbers, they can beat you on defense and on offense.
And, you know, when you start to look like overall, you know, schedule, blah, 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 you know, I think they have the number 2 strength of record in college basketball. I mean, they've played a lot of good teams. And this one here tonight counts big, though. It was a big win.
Yeah, and I think we talked about the Southeastern Conference as a league with several really, really strong teams that have potentially high ceilings if certain things pan out. But I don't think there's any team in the SEC right now that you could feel better about than the Auburn Tigers to go to Alabama, a team that's very difficult to beat in Tuscaloosa. Tonight, the Tigers showed that they can be in New Orleans. They absolutely can be in New Orleans, because when you have Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler on the same team, and you can bring a guy like Wendell Green Jr. off the bench, I know what you said, Sean. Maybe Wendell's not always the guy you want taking the shot, but the fact you have a guy who can be the Energizer Bunny on a given night. And
no, he had 20. He had 20 tonight. I mean, my only point, and again, there's a lot of ways to get better as a group. Trust me when I tell you this. One of Bruce Pearl's great opportunities that he has with his team, because he's got their undivided attention. They're great. They're filled with confidence. Is kind of really looking at different ways down the stretch that when they continue to get in these games on the road and playing in March on a neutral court, to never have that regret that you didn't utilize somebody that's as dynamic as Jabari is on offense. Again, at 6'9", when you consider points per game and the efficiency of him, it's not as if he's not going to pass the ball. It's just he's the go-to guy down the stretch. But when you talk about the SEC, John, Auburn, number 7 in America on defense and efficiency. Kentucky, number 22. LSU, number 1. Tennessee, number 2. I mean, you're talking about some of the best defensive, most athletic, talent-laden teams in our country, and they're all right there in the SEC. To win on the road, like Auburn did tonight, that was a major, major victory for them this season to win at Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the SEC and you say, you know, today, you'd have to say that LSU may be second in running right now in terms of being able to compete athletically with them and be able to bring the type of length that can match it. I don't know if LSU offensively is good enough maybe to overtop Auburn, but I definitely think from a talent perspective, when those two teams match up, they're going to look the part. In Kentucky,
Archie, you know,
Kentucky would
we
be
talked
good.
about Jabari Smith a lot, but Terry Eason, what
really
he's
good.
done for LSU.
He's basically what Walker Kessler has done. Tari Eason has had a very similar impact on LSU.
Tari Eason's ability to play their style, to defend, and to push the ball, to finish, and just, you know, the athletic talent that he brings to the table. You know, some amazing additions from last year to this year in the SEC. But, you know, those guys empowering Auburn and LSU. But Tari Eason and Jabari Smith, Walker Kessler, You think about like those teams
How
a year
about
ago. and
Big
Michigan.
Oscar as well? You know, Big
Yeah.
Oscar wasn't in playing
There's
last year for
a
Kentucky.
lot of good additions. And John, what you see is the difference in college basketball, right? Wendell Green isn't a McDonald's All-American, but tonight he was, right? But you catch him at the end of his career coming from a smaller school. You know, ditto for Oscar. Oscar's coming from not high school, but West Virginia, where he's well coached. You have a lot of different versions. Tari Eason, he's not from high school. He played at Cincinnati. So there's guys that are coming into programs that are impacting. We've talked a lot about Baylor this year. James Akinjo isn't a 18-year-old, 19-year-old freshman point guard taking over the reins from who those guys lost a year ago. So that's what makes the parity, the balance. And if you start thinking like, you know, it feels like more star power. I think one of the things that everybody feels is as teams build, they don't always build through high school. They're building through eligible, immediately transfers, guys that don't have to sit out, that are coming from one school to the next, ready to play. And Walker Kessler and Wendell Green, they do a great job complementing Jabari Smith. And, you know, two of the three are coming from college through the portal. And that's the new way of college basketball that I think makes it maybe even more unpredictable now than it once was.